Hi guys, today we're going to be working on increasing your boost. You added more fuel, you need more air, and then you add more air, and then you need more fuel. It's a never-ending cycle that only gets interrupted by breaking parts. But for now, we're going to be working with increasing air. This is the stock wastegate system on a 12-valve Cummins. The wastegate actuator here connects up to your boost source. Sometimes it's on the turbo compressor housing, sometimes it's over by the injector pump, but either way, this guy sees boost from your intake system, and then when you hit a certain amount of boost, it opens this rod and opens the wastegate over here. By opening the wastegate, you connect the high pressure drive pressure to the low pressure exhaust pipe, thus bypassing the turbine wheel, limiting the amount of power the turbine can create, limiting boost. Now, when it comes to increasing the boost, most ways are the same but different. Basically, you just take a device and you hook it up between the wastegate actuator and your engine. Because this guy opens about 20 pounds, what your boost controlling device will do is when your engine's at like 30 pounds, it'll make it think that you're only at 20, and then so open it at 30 instead of your stock 20 pounds. However, I'm not really a big fan of the boost controlling devices, most commonly the boost elbow. I've tried many different forms of boost controlling, and this one here I'm about to show you is among my favorite. It's actually tied for favorite. I designed a boost governor a while back, and while it worked just as good, it was a lot more complicated. It did have the advantage of low RPM performance, but only by a smidgen, but this design I'm about to show you has the advantage of high RPM performance, so it was kind of a trade-off. And because this one's so much simpler, this is the system I've been running on my last couple setups. So here we go. Best part is we ditched the actuator altogether. That way we no longer have a form of possible boost leak, because a lot of these actuators are getting old. They rust all up in there, and the tire frame, which is like a millimeter thick, they crack, break through, and start leaking, and then you've got a big huge boost leak going on. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a spring, and the way this works is because you got your high pressure drive pressure in here, and you got low pressure exhaust, whatever it takes to overcome the restriction of your exhaust pipe over here. And so as drive pressure increases, it pushes up against this flapper, and so this flapper itself wants to open. And because drive pressure is fairly linear to boost, once boost hits a certain amount, so will drive pressure, and it'll open this. And the higher the drive pressure, the further it'll open. It works extremely well and it's extremely effective. So how we're going to work this up is we're going to do no fabrication. This is going to be really simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a spring and an eyelet, and we're going to, these guys, they clip together, which is great because they can't fall off in case something gets loose. And then we take the other end of the spring, and you'll notice how the hook comes and it goes down. You're going to want this side facing the turbine housing. That will give you a little bit more clearance. Okay? So you hook that on like that. You got the clip on the wastegate actuator arm there, so it's not falling off. And then we're going to take the nuts off the back. Okay, this is just a 1/4 inch eyelet. And then, well, because this spring's a little short, because it does take a bit of tension in order to keep that guy closed, especially on this housing who has the oversized wastegate actuator. So what we just do is you're just going to pivot it down, put the nut on, then pivot it back up. See if I can hold it still while I put the bolt in over here. So obviously isn't the right bolt. Had to scrounge through my old part bin in order to find something to be able to rig all this stuff up. Anywho, so there you go. And it's very hokey, but it works extremely well. And it's completely reliable because you don't have any form of boost leak or whatnot. Obviously you'd have to plug off your old boost reference so it doesn't leak. But I mean, you can't get much more simple than that. And this same design works on a 24 valve, because this is a stock 12 valve system. The 24 valves have a wastegate mount on the compressor housing itself. So I don't have the 24 valve turbine housing, but the wastegate actuator is over here. So you just put your spring and bolt and mount it to the holes on the compressor housing here. Really super simple, and matter of fact, it'd be super clean. You do have to worry about having too much stud here because the oil filter does sit right there, but you've got quite a ways, so you really don't have to worry about it. Here you can see that, matter of fact, while I'm here, this is an old system. This is the original spring gate I ran on my truck. This is kind of a custom setup because this is an HY35 turbine housing, but you can see that it works like that. I had to really tighten up this spring because it's a bit weak, but there you go. Another reason I had to tighten it up is because I got a massive wastegate puck in there, so it really wanted to open it up. But if you've got a stock puck or just slightly bigger, you should be pretty easy to tune in. Like I say, this guy worked extremely well. Hence, I still run him on my current setup. Now this is great and all, but like I say, it's quite hokey. But with a little bit of fabrication, we can do a little bit better. So what we can do is we can make a bracket for this guy so he sits in the middle. Now if you're gonna make a bracket anyway, instead of having him in the center where the spring could rub on on this guy here, we're gonna offset him slightly over here. That way he's held out and is out of the way and looks good and smells good and just in every which way good. So let's go. I know I need to fasten down the belt grinder, but there you have it. Throw a little bit of paint on there and people might think you're a professional. So we're just gonna bolt him down. Perfect. These are just 1/4" bolts. So there you have it. Super simple, super cheap, and super effective. And in order to adjust boost, just tighten up the stud. It's that simple. The tighter the stud, the higher the boost. And a great way to think about this is that instead of controlling boost, you control drive pressure. So at very high RPMs, you're less likely to overspeed your turbo. One great thing about these guys, instead of your typical form of increasing boost, which is a boost elbow, is that boost elbow has a bit of a leak designed into it. It's supposed to be there. It's not that big a deal. It's a small leak, but it is indeed a leak. And any leak in the boost system or your intake plumbing will slow down the spool up of the turbo because it's trying to compress that air and get it into the plumbing and into the engine, but your leak there is just venting it off. Because any air that does not make it into the engine doesn't go back out of the engine and drive the turbine harder. So it's kind of it's a spiraling effect that makes more of a difference than you'd think. Well, I mean, it's still a small difference and you may or may not notice it. It is indeed there. So that's kind of cool. Like I say, it's really super simple. You really can't go wrong with them. So hopefully that was helpful. Now you can increase your boost, increase your fuel, and break more parts, and then keep wrenching.